Welcome to Living Local with Frisbee Real Estate, where we connect neighbors, businesses, and stories, because home is more than four walls. I'm your host, Ed Frisbee. Join me as we sit down with local business owners, community leaders, and neighbors to share what makes Western North Carolina such a wonderful place to live. Let's jump into today's conversation. Thanks for joining us today, and my special guest with us is Mr. Jared Ownbey with Ownbey Land and Surveying. I always say Land and Surveying, but it's Ownbey Land Surveying, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Jared, thanks for joining us. Tell us a little bit about your company, what you do, and then I have lots of questions for you.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. So my company is Ownbey Land Surveying. We're located at 522 Fleming Street.
In Hendersonville.
In Hendersonville, yes. And we've been in business there since 2020. Been surveying really since I got out of high school. But we do all sorts of survey-related tasks. We do boundary surveys, topographic surveys, flood elevation certificates, construction staking, pretty much just about anything that you can think of that, you know, if you think of a surveyor, what they would do. One unique thing that we offer is bathymetric surveying. We purchased a drone. It's been a couple years ago. It's a boat, and basically what we've been doing with it is we can survey a lake bottom or a body of water and generate a topographic map of that, and then produce the volume amount. We do a lot of work for a company in Charlotte that specializes in dam restoration, and so they sub us out for surveying related tasks with the dam and the lake volumes.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's really fun. You set the boat out there, you can give it a mission plan, let it do its thing, and fish if you want to while it's surveying. But a lot of times I do most of that work, and it's remote controlled, so we do it manually because of obstructions and stuff that you may have in the water. But it's pretty cool.
Do all that from land, or you have to go out on the water also?
No, we do it from land. It has a camera on it. If you get to a point where you can't really see it, you can switch that and see what the boat's seeing. But for the most part, we haven't done anything larger than 7 or 8 acres.
I see. And
I can usually see it, and so it hasn't been an issue yet.
That's really interesting. So surveying, what is the largest parcel you've surveyed as far as acreage or size?
To date, the largest parcel that we've done is about 500 acres.
Wow. And how long would something like that take?
Well, prior to GPS becoming the primary tool that we use, which is wonderful, we would have to physically, what we call traverse that boundary. So we would come out with a transit or a total station is what we used, and turn angles and traverse that boundary line and do what we call a true line. And that could take, on average, depending on the terrain, we would figure, a good crew, 1,500 to 2,000 feet of perimeter a day. So, some of these boundary surveys could be miles long, so it could take weeks to just do the fieldwork portion. And then there's the research. I think a lot of folks don't use a surveyor often. They only call a surveyor when they have to. So I feel like that we have to, and we're happy to do so, but inform our clients, here's the process, this is how this works. Before we ever set foot on the property, there's a lot of research that goes into it. We check, deeds and plats of record of the subject property, and then any properties that touch it, really, we have to check those as well. And then we come out and do the field work, bring all that data back to the office, process it. If sometimes corners are missing, sometimes there's gaps, overlaps, we got to take those into account. And then, and finally, eventually we have a map that we produce for our client. But with the GPS coming so far, GPS is expensive. It's very precise now. I mean, we can get sub-centimeter accuracies with our equipment, and that allows us a little more speed in the field, because prior to that, with a traditional traverse, you need line of sight, and that's not necessarily required when you have a GPS. When we use what we call RTK, which is short for real-time kinematic, basically where we use a base unit set up at a point, and then we'll carry with us what we call a rover, and then we do all our surveying like that. But not to get too technical, we could probably talk about that for an hour and how all that works and make your eyes glaze over. But
I am curious. You mentioned gaps, and I think you said overlays. But what happens in those situations? Like what you find becomes true, or
no, it doesn't. So one thing that we have to, keep separate is that as a land surveyor, we do not practice law. So we can't fix everything. So really what we're doing when we produce a survey plat, and let's say there is an overlap, what that means is there's an overlap on paper. There's an overlap in the chain of title. Error probably has occurred at some point, right? Land physically it can't overlap itself, nor can it gap. You've heard the term no man's land, which, in the case of a gap, that would be a strip of land, perhaps that there's no claim on it. There's, this person's deed says they own this, and this one says they own that, and there's a little strip in the middle that there's no, paperwork saying who owns it. But we report all those facts on our survey plat, so we will show, when we're required to, show any gaps or lappages. So we'll say, possible overlap, and then we have to give all the deed references and such. And then our clients ask us the same thing. Now what? Well, find an attorney, because that's what they're going to need to do from that point, is seek legal counsel about how to go about it, with that neighboring property owner. What can they do at this point to resolve it?
Well, in real estate, I've run into, I think we've talked about this once before, where there's unclaimed, or what's the correct terminology, where nobody knows who owns the land.
We just call it no man's land.
and if a neighboring owner wants to try to claim it, can be a costly, because then you're paying for title search and probably a survey.
Yeah.
And then there's several steps involved. You can't just claim it, I don't think. You think you have to contact the adjacent owners? Does that sound right? Or
I've heard stories of folks and even surveyors in the past that you find a section of land that has no title to it. You could file a quitclaim deed on it, which may convey title if there's any title to be conveyed. Sometimes that would, ripen into them owning it, but that's one way to go about it, claiming it. And there's a whole lot of other, conditions that would have to be met for that to actually occur. But a lot of times that's usually past where we are involved. The first step would be for us to, survey that property, get some measurements so that, the parties know exactly what are the dimensions in the area of what is, either in that gap or in that overlap, and then take that to the attorneys to figure out what to do with it.
Right. And then it becomes maybe so expensive you just leave it.
That happens a lot, yeah. It's very costly, and a lot of times I've had folks, situation like this, and then they just drop it because the legal fees become so expensive. And and I've had a client one time, we found a fence over the line in an area they'd been obviously occupying that didn't belong to them. And they're like, well, what should I do? And I was like, are you and your neighbor friendly? And they're like, yeah. Does he honor your fence? He says, yeah. He said, well, what should I do? I was like, well, you could tell him if you want, or it could just, not say anything. If you two are fine with it, that's between you and your neighbor.
Right.
And I always try to tell my clients, be a good neighbor. If you want to get along with your neighbor, talk to them and be upfront with them. But, a lot of times that doesn't happen. So
we've lost that in our society, I think, talking to people.
Yeah.
And agreeing to disagree at times.
Mm-hmm.
So awesome. What's the smallest piece you've ever surveyed? If 500 acres-ish is the largest.
That's a good question. We've got one coming up, actually, that we're going to do. It's 25 foot by, I think, 100 feet maybe.
Wow.
At that. And it's a little parcel in downtown Chimney Rock. And, Chimney Rock was
from the
very,
Helene.
very much affected by Helene. And this client that I have, he's a friend of mine, and I've done a lot of work for him in the past, approached me about surveying it. He sent me a photo that he'd taken with a drone of the area, and there's nothing there So I was like, look, I don't even know how to bid this for you. Obviously the corners are gone. It was flooded. So it's going to be a challenge to put that back in. So we've done one other job in Chimney Rock since Helene, and we had to, I guess you could say, extrapolate, basically get out there. And from the subject parcel, we survey out as far as we need to find some corners, property corners in the ground that we can, verify, check, and see, okay, is that a correct corner, and then build off of that. So any surveyor that's been in Chimney Rock, I would say, is having the same challenge for that. But yeah, I mean, that's probably the smallest that we've done.
Interesting.
They're going to do.
Like something after Helene, you can't just go off of GPS, I guess. You have to go back and to do a true survey. You have to go back and find a corner to work off of. Is that what you're saying?
That would be preferred. I mean, the only way you could use GPS for a survey like that, let's say all the corners are obliterated, right?
Yep.
If there was a survey that had been done prior to that flood event and coordinates were listed, and we were, in our case, NAD 83, something that we could reference the same survey plane, we could use those coordinates to put back those property corners. We've also got a hierarchy of evidence that we use to, replace missing corners, and coordinates is further down on that list, but sometimes if that's the best evidence, that's the best evidence, So it's kind of a case-by-case thing.
That's very interesting. I don't think I'd ever enjoy surveying, but it's very interesting to listen to. If somebody's listening to this and says, dang, we need to call Jared, how do they call you or find you?
Well, I appreciate you
and
asking
we're not
that.
done talking. I just...
Yeah. So we have a website. It's mountainlandsurveyor.com.
That's easier than Ownbey.
Easier than Ownbey. That's why it's not Ownbey. Ownbey is spelled uniquely. A lot of folks want to put that E in there because phonetically that's what it sounds like it should be spelled like, but it's Ownbey. So we have mountainlandsurveyor.com. You can email us or email me at jared@mountainlandsurveyor.com. Also, I have another licensed surveyor in our office. His name's Dakota Waddell. It's dakota@mountainlandsurveyor.com. And then our phone number for our office is 828-595-9668.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'll ask you again that at the end, so don't forget.
Okay.
So what's the weirdest thing you've ever seen when you're out surveying? Or scariest? How about we'll kind of combine that?
Okay. We'll start with the weirdest, I guess. I found an entire deer carcass one time on a 300-acre boundary survey, and it was a really nice buck. And we were surveying, it was in Cooper's Gap down in Rutherford County, I believe. Huh. And we come across it, and it was down kind of in a water hole area. There was a spring, and couldn't believe it. So we kept the head because it was really nice. It had already been bleached out in just the skeleton. And then it took us about another month to finish that job. And so I went to see the client, was telling them, we were giving them their plat and getting paid and that sort of thing. And I told him about this deer we had found. And he goes, I shot that deer. I was hunting and I couldn't find it. Do you still have the head? I says, yeah. He says, can I have it? And I was like, no, I done put it on my wall. So I put it on actually I gave it to my father-in-law and he put it on his shed. But he was fine with that. But that was a really, that was kind of wild to find that. Let's see, scariest thing? I don't know. I haven't found anything scary. I guess neighbors would be the scariest thing. Sometimes, people say, are you worried about bears or snakes or bees? And I guess bees are my least favorite because you're in a bee's nest before you know it, and then they're going to light you up. Snakes, we make enough noise in the woods. I really don't see snakes that often. The worst place I've ever been around to see snakes is down off Pot Shoals Road near the power plant. Huh. Down there off of 176, we did a 5-acre piece and we killed 5 copperheads because we crossed their paths and, they're aggressive and they'll hurt you. Yeah. So I guess bees would be the scariest thing, and then disgruntled neighbors because the assumption, they see us show up and the surveyors out here, there must be a problem.
Right.
And that's not the case. It's usually not the case, but we get misunderstood, and so there's a problem. Get off my land.
Do y'all wear orange vests and stuff?
Yeah, we do. I wear an orange vest. One for the convenience. I mean, we've got all these nice pockets and keep all our toys and stuff. I call it my costume. And my field guys, they also wear a vest, or at least enough orange to look like they're official. You know, I don't want my guys to just show up somewhere and look like some person just climbing out of the woods, you know. Right. So we try to keep a professional look about us. And then, you know, if we're doing a survey of someone's property, typically we knock on that person's door, let them know we're there, or any neighbors, you know, if we have to go across their property or onto their property to tie in an adjoining corner or anything like that, we always try to let people know what we're doing.
You mentioned bears. You guys surveyed a property that I had for sale in Asheville one time, and I think it was soon after your crew was out there, and I was walking the property with the clients, and I think we saw 2 or 3 bears within about 100 feet of us, and that's the first time I've ever seen a bear when I'm with clients from out of town, and that was pretty startling for them. And just the idea of me, and some of them were older, the idea of trying to help them get away from a bear if he decided to walk towards us was a little frightening, I guess. But normally bears don't bother you.
No, I've seen a bear one time. It was on a job in Jackson County, and it's just kind of a funny story. We were surveying kind of down in an area, it was off of Highway 107, and there wasn't very good cell phone signal, and I needed to call the office. I worked for a larger company at the time. It's probably been 17 years ago. So I jumped in the truck to drive up to the top of the mountain of this subdivision we were working on to call out, and I kept hearing dogs, and it was about this time of year, and I was headed up the road, and before I knew it, the biggest black bear I ever seen jumped out and ran across the road right in front of my truck.
Wow.
And I just stopped. I was like, I can't believe I just saw that, you know. And then a few seconds later, there come the dogs. So they were running in. But that's the only time I've seen a bear out surveying.
That's wild.
Now my guys, they've told me stories. They've seen a bear several times. Seen one in Mills River. You know, I've seen bears in downtown Asheville. I think I've seen more just driving. I used to work at AB Tech. We see them up there on the campus all the time.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's
so
wild.
I think they're attracted to the trash of people's, you know, trash cans and such.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to wind it down, but tell us before we get off, what are some of your favorite places to eat or that you recommend to visitors that are coming to the area?
Sure. So I would have to say my favorite place to eat right now, mine and my wife's, would be Postero.
Oh.
Everything at Postero is great. The staff there, we know some of them. They're very nice. Excellent service, excellent food. My second favorite for, I guess, a sit-down setting would be Shine. It's a toss-up. Half the time I would rather go to Shine, and my wife would rather go to Postero. Huh. So we were actually Shine last week. So it's very good food. And those would probably be my 2 favorite. And, of course, I mean, you can't go wrong with Hot Dog World. Hot Dog World's still up there.
So different. You just...
So, I mean, that's a quick dinner there. My kids love Hot Dog World. Yeah, you know, just a hot dog, some tater tots.
Yeah, we love their tater tots.
Yeah, just right over here.
Yep.
You can walk right over there.
I have walked there often. Oh, so what about people coming to town or favorite things, activities? Like, hey, you got to go see this if you're in town.
Well, this
you
time
probably
of
don't
year,
hike a lot due to your work, so.
Well, here lately, I'm in the office a lot, so I try to get out. I don't hike, but I do enjoy mountain biking. If you're a mountain biker, Canoga Bike Park is my favorite place to go. I love it. There's a lot of trails up there. I got myself a new e-bike this year, full suspension, and then I would ride it every day if I could. It's a blast out there. So if you're a mountain biker, I would recommend that place. Hiking, I mean, I can't tell you the last time I went on a dedicated hike, but it's probably Carl Sandburg up to Glassy.
Yep.
You know, this time of year you've got the apple fruit stands and such. I enjoy my favorite one's Mountain Fresh Orchards out there in Eddyville. Always have a good selection of apples, so that's where I like to go get my apples. So.
And your office is near or downtown-ish. Do you ever take advantage of Acosta Trail?
Yes, I do. A lot of times I'll load my bike up, bring it with me to work, stop at lunch, ride down there, ride what's open of the trail, which
Yep.
I think it's about 6 miles
Yep.
from the market to the horseshoe and back, and then back to the office. It's a great little break to the
Yep.
day.
I've been shocked the amount of people taking advantage of Acoustic Trail already. So
Yeah, it's pretty great.
yeah,
We enjoy it.
we've enjoyed it too. Anything else you can think of I should have asked you related to surveying? I have other questions, but we're running out of time, and maybe we'll have to have a part 2
Part 2,
sometime.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be glad to do it. So can't think of anything right off.
Okay. Oh, well, I do have part 2. We'll just have to stop. Okay. Jared, thanks very much for taking time.
Thanks for
Tell them
having me.
everybody again how to contact you.
You can reach us. Our number is 828-595-9668. That's our office number. Our website is mountainlandsurveyor.com. And my email address is jared@mountainlandsurveyor.com. So thanks for the
Awesome.
plug-in.
Absolutely. Thanks for taking the time.
Yes, sir.
And thank you for watching and or listening, and keep living local. Thanks for joining us on Living Local with Frisbee Real Estate. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow the podcast and share it with a friend. To learn more about Frisbee Real Estate, your lifelong home resource, visit frisbeerealestate.com. Until next time, keep living local.